got a herd on it. But there's a prairie fire burning up from the south. I was looking for a river big enough to stop it.
You found it?
Sorry? What's the big idea?
Back in the early 60s, TV viewers tuned in for cowboy grit and cattle trails, but Rawhide delivered a lot more than dust and spurs. Between ghost riders, backstage feuds, and a young Clint Eastwood trying out his first tough guy glare, this western was anything but ordinary. Running from 1959 to 1965, it lasted 8 seasons, gave Frankie Laine a career-defining theme song, and carved out a spot in TV history. Today we're counting down 12 of the weirdest, funniest, and most unexpected facts about Rawhide. Saddle up, the trail's about to get strange. Number 12. Before Rawhide became Rawhide, the network wanted to call it something less catchy. The working title? Cattle Drive, which, let's be honest, sounds less like an exciting western and more like a family trip to the stockyards. Thankfully, cooler heads prevailed, and CBS went with Rawhide. A name that rolled off the tongue, lent itself to that now legendary theme song, and actually felt rugged. Imagine Eastwood grimacing his way through 8 seasons under the banner of Cattle Drive. Doesn't quite have the same ring, does it?
My heart's calculating, my true love will be waiting at the end of my ride.
Number 11. Eric Fleming, who played trail boss Gil Favor, didn't just have a rugged face, it was literally rebuilt. During his Navy days, Fleming suffered a horrific accident that shattered his features. After reconstructive surgery and sheer grit, he emerged with the tough, chiseled look that became his signature on Rawhide. In other words, his leading man face was custom made by doctors. It adds a whole new layer when you realize the guy barking orders at Clint Eastwood had already survived something harsher than a cattle stampede. Number 10. Sure, Rawhide was a western, but sometimes it flirted with the supernatural. One episode gave us ghost riders, another had glowing St. Elmo's fire, and yes, even a mysterious gypsy wagon that seemed to move all by itself. Fans tuned in expecting cattle, got a dose of Twilight Zone instead. Was it spooky? A little. Was it weird? Absolutely. This was the cowboy show where you could get a horror story on Monday, a morality play on Friday, and still end up back on the trail next week.
I think I see what you're doing wrong. Now look, try turning your wrist over before you let it go. See?
I have turned it over. I've turned it over and under and inside out.
Number 9. By the time season 8 rolled around, Rawhide decided to get cartoony, literally. The final season's opening credits were fully animated, making it one of the only westerns to ditch live-action intros for stylized art. It looked more Saturday morning than primetime grit, and fans didn't know what to think. Was CBS trying to modernize, or just desperate to freshen up an old show? Either way, nothing says serious cowboy drama quite like a doodle of Clint Eastwood herding cattle. Spoiler, the experiment didn't save the series. Number 8. Behind the scenes, Rawhide was a battlefield. At one point, producers tried to push more experimental, darker storylines. Less about cows, more about people. CBS executives freaked. Their solution? A purge on Christmas Eve, firing much of the creative staff and demanding, in no uncertain terms, put the cows back in. Fans never knew it, but the show's sudden whiplash in tone came from this infamous shakeup. Forget peace on earth. For Rawhide's writers, that holiday was anything but merry and bright. Number 7. At first, Clint Eastwood's Rowdy Yates was just the eager young sidekick to Eric Fleming's grizzled trail boss. But when Fleming left in season 8, CBS needed a new face to lead. Suddenly, Eastwood wasn't just the sidekick, he was the star. This last-minute promotion put him in charge of the drive and gave him more dramatic weight, even if the show itself was limping toward cancellation. Ironically, Rawhide's decline came just as Eastwood was leveling up to movie superstardom. Hollywood legend status, right around the corner. Trail boss practice, courtesy of CBS. Number 6. Those opening narrations in Rawhide weren't just TV fluff, they were inspired by the actual diary of a 19th century trail boss named George C. Duffield. The show's creators used his notes to capture the grit, monotony, and dangers of driving cattle across the frontier. It's a weirdly authentic touch for a series that also had, you know, haunted wagons and rogue circus performers. One minute you're grounded in history, the next you're riding with ghosts. Still, it gave the show an air of credibility, at least when it wasn't dabbling in cowboy sci-fi. We're only halfway through and we've already had ghost wagons, face reconstruction, and an animated Clint Eastwood. If that's the warm-up, just imagine what's left. Quick pit stop, if you're enjoying this trip down the strangest cattle trail in TV history, hit that subscribe button. It's easier than herding 3,000 cows across the frontier, and you don't even need a horse. Alright, back to the roundup. The trail's only getting weirder from here. Number 5. Most westerns treated the US cavalry as heroic saviors. Rawhide? Not always. Some episodes painted them as corrupt, cruel, or flat-out dishonorable. One story even worked as an allegory for Vietnam, years before that war officially dominated American TV screens. For a cattle drive series in the early 1960s, this was gutsy stuff. Viewers tuned in for cowboys and ended up with proto-political commentary. Imagine sitting down with Dad expecting John Wayne vibes, and instead getting a lecture on military abuse of power. It wasn't just weird for a western, it was practically rebellious for network TV. Number 4. If you think old TV shied away from tough subjects, Rawhide begs to differ. The show tackled morphine addiction, racial prejudice, post-Civil War guilt, and even issues of justice that still feel timely today. Sure, one week you might get a haunted cattle drive, but the next you'd see a harrowing story about soldiers struggling with withdrawal. This tonal whiplash kept Rawhide unpredictable. Part morality play, part action show, part frontier therapy session. It was TV daring to peek under the cowboy hat at problems no one else wanted to air. Call it messy, but undeniably ahead of its time. Number 3. Fans knew the drill. Every episode of Rawhide ended the same way. The credits rolled as the drive pushed on with that trusty "head 'em up, move 'em out" line. It was ritual, comfort food TV. But one episode shattered that formula. Instead of cowboys fading into the horizon, the credits rolled over a quiet town street. It was disorienting, almost eerie, like your favorite sitcom suddenly ditching the laugh track. Small? Maybe. But for fans in the 60s, it was a subtle reminder that even a cattle drive show could yank the rug out. Rawhide wasn't always predictable, and that made it weirdly exciting. Number 2. Even if you've never seen Rawhide, odds are you've heard its theme song. Written by Dmitri Tiomkin with lyrics by Ned Washington and belted out by Frankie Laine, the tune became bigger than the show itself. Energetic, dramatic, and kind of absurdly catchy, it burned its way into pop culture. It's been spoofed, covered, and even blasted in the Blues Brothers decades after the show ended. Imagine tuning into a cattle drive drama and accidentally creating one of the most iconic TV themes in history. That's Rawhide's legacy, a song that made cows sound epic, and a chorus that outlived the trail it celebrated. Seriously, go ahead and hum it. You already know the words. Number 1. The weirdest fact of all, how it ended for Eric Fleming. After years of anchoring Rawhide as Gil Favor, Fleming left in season 8 due to behind-the-scenes tension. That was strange enough, but what happened after is downright tragic. Just a few years later, while filming a movie in Peru, Fleming died in a freak accident, drowning in a river at only 41. It's the kind of shocking twist that casts a long shadow over Rawhide's history. Fans remember him as the stoic leader, the tough-as-leather boss who kept the herd moving, but his real-life story ended in chaos, making his already mythic presence on Rawhide feel even more haunting. When Eastwood stepped up, the show stumbled, but Fleming's absence was felt forever. So what did we learn on this cattle drive? That Rawhide wasn't just a straight-shooting western. It was a wild mix of ghost stories, social commentary, experimental TV, and backstage drama. One week it was dusty realism pulled from a real trail boss's diary. The next it was supernatural cowboys glowing in the night. Somehow all of it worked, at least until it didn't. Looking back, Rawhide was less about moving cattle and more about moving TV forward, even in weird, uneven steps. It gave us Clint Eastwood, a theme song that refuses to die, and enough strange stories to fill a corral. So tell me, which fact surprised you the most? Drop it in the comments, hit subscribe, and I'll see you on the next roundup. Head 'em up, move 'em out.